kitango na ngai pona kolinga na linga kiyo okomisa kingai zoba na yo pona langa yo.
In the summer of 1960, the Congo stood at the edge of history, emerging from more than 70 years of brutal Belgian colonial rule. Independence arrived suddenly, almost recklessly. After decades of forced labor, resource extraction, and systematic humiliation of the Congolese people, in this fragile moment, a new voice rose above the chaos. Patrice Lumumba, charismatic, fearless, and fiercely intelligent, Lumumba was not born into privilege or colonial favor. He was self-taught, politically awakened, and deeply committed to the idea that Congo should belong to its people, not to foreign kings, companies, or armies. When he became the country's first democratically elected prime minister, he embodied hope for millions across Africa who saw independence not as a symbolic gesture, but as a complete break from exploitation. His now famous independence speech, delivered in the presence of the Belgian king, shattered diplomatic decorum. Lumumba openly condemned colonial violence, racial oppression, and economic theft, refusing to sugarcoat history for the comfort of former masters. That moment electrified Africans and terrified Western powers. Congo was not just any new nation. It was vast, strategically located, and rich in uranium, copper, cobalt, and diamonds, resources critical to Western industry and Cold War military dominance. Lumumba's insistence on true sovereignty threatened the invisible systems that had quietly replaced colonial rule with economic control. As the Congolese flag replaced the Belgian one, unseen forces began to move. Behind the celebrations, whispers of danger spread through foreign embassies, corporate boardrooms, and intelligence agencies. Lumumba's independence vision was not merely political, it was revolutionary. And in the tense atmosphere of the Cold War, revolutions were not tolerated. Lumumba's rise sent shockwaves far beyond Africa. To the United States and its allies, the Congo was not viewed through the lens of freedom, but through the rigid paranoia of Cold War rivalry. Any leader who rejected Western influence risked being labeled a communist, regardless of their actual beliefs. Lumumba was not a Marxist ideologue, but he was unapologetically anti-imperialist, and that alone made him dangerous. He spoke openly about reclaiming Congo's resources, limiting foreign exploitation, and building partnerships on equal terms. For multinational corporations that had long profited from Congo's minerals, this was an existential threat. For Belgium, it was an insult that could not go unanswered. Within weeks of independence, the mineral-rich Katanga province, backed by Belgian interests, declared secession. Chaos followed. The Congolese army mutinied, the administration collapsed, and the young nation began to fracture. Lumumba appealed to the United Nations for help, only to be met with hesitation and political maneuvering. As the crisis deepened, Western intelligence agencies began to see Lumumba not as a leader to be negotiated with, but as a problem to be removed. Declassified documents would later reveal that discussions about eliminating Lumumba took place at the highest levels of power. In Washington and Brussels, his name became synonymous with instability. In Africa, however, he became a symbol of resistance. The tension between these two realities, African liberation and Western control, tightened like a noose. Every speech Lumumba gave, every attempt to assert authority, pushed him further into isolation. The stage was being set for a political execution disguised as internal conflict, and Lumumba, surrounded by enemies and false allies, was walking toward a fate carefully designed behind closed doors. As the Congolese state unraveled, Lumumba found himself increasingly alone. President Joseph Kasavubu, under immense foreign pressure, dismissed him from office. Shortly afterward, Colonel Joseph Mobutu, once Lumumba's ally, seized power in a military coup that bore the fingerprints of foreign intelligence support. Lumumba was placed under house arrest, cut off from communication, watched constantly by soldiers who once saluted him. Yet even in confinement, he remained dangerous not with weapons, but with ideas. His popularity among ordinary Congolese and his symbolic power across Africa made him a liability that could not be contained. When Lumumba attempted to escape and rally supporters in the east, he was captured, beaten, and publicly humiliated. Images of the former prime minister, bound and bloodied, were deliberately circulated to destroy his image and crush resistance. He was transferred between prisons, tortured, and psychologically broken, all while foreign officials monitored events with quiet approval. The decision was made: Lumumba would not be allowed to live. He was flown to Katanga, the very region whose secession he had opposed, controlled by enemies who despised him. This was not a trial, nor a mistake of war. It was a deliberate handover to death. Every step from arrest to transfer was calculated, coordinated, and sanctioned. Lumumba was no longer a man in custody. He was a political problem being delivered for final disposal. On the night of January 17, 1961, Patrice Lumumba was taken into the forest under armed guard. Alongside two allies, he was beaten again, weakened, and mocked by his captors. There would be no witnesses, no records, no grave. Shots rang out in the darkness, ending the life of a man who had dared to believe Africa could be free on its own terms. But death was not enough. In a chilling act meant to erase history itself, Lumumba's body was dismembered and dissolved in acid. Teeth were pulled out as trophies. Bones were destroyed. The message was clear. Not only would the man be killed, but his memory would be denied a physical resting place. For weeks, the world was told lies, stories of escape, rumors of tribal violence, deliberate confusion designed to delay outrage. Behind the scenes, officials congratulated themselves on the removal of a problem, yet the secrecy betrayed guilt. This was not justice. It was an execution carried out in silence, orchestrated across borders, hidden beneath the language of stability and order. The destruction of Lumumba's body symbolized a deeper crime, the attempt to erase African self-determination. But history has a way of resisting erasure. Even without a grave, Lumumba became immortal, his absence louder than any monument. When the truth slowly emerged, it sent shockwaves across Africa and the global south. Protests erupted. Lumumba was mourned as a martyr, a man sacrificed on the altar of foreign interests. In Western capitals, however, the response was muted, cautious, and evasive. Investigations were delayed. Responsibility was blurred. For decades, official acknowledgement remained incomplete, wrapped in legal language and diplomatic apologies that avoided full accountability. The Cold War moved on, but the wound remained open. Lumumba's death became a case study in how powerful nations manipulate weaker ones under the guise of order and security. It exposed the dark mechanics of intervention, where democracy is tolerated only when it aligns with external interests. For many Africans, Lumumba's assassination marked the beginning of a long pattern. Leaders who resisted control were destabilized, overthrown, or eliminated. The question lingered: how many futures were stolen in secret meetings and classified documents? How many nations were denied their natural path? The silence surrounding Lumumba's death spoke volumes. It revealed not only who pulled the trigger, but who looked away. Today, Patrice Lumumba stands as more than a historical figure. He is a symbol of what Africa might have become and what it was denied. Streets, universities, and movements bear his name, but his vision remains unfinished. The Congo, still rich in resources, continues to suffer from instability and exploitation, haunted by the ghost of a leader who dared to imagine a different future. Lumumba's story forces uncomfortable questions upon the world. What is the true cost of foreign interference? Who decides which leaders are allowed to live? And how many truths remain buried alongside bodies that were never meant to be found? His assassination was not an accident of chaos. It was a calculated political act executed with precision and silence. Yet, despite every attempt to erase him, Lumumba endures in memory, in resistance, and in the ongoing struggle for sovereignty. They killed the man, but they failed to kill the idea, and that idea still waits, unresolved, in the unanswered moral reckoning of history. History is not only written by victors, it is also hidden by those who fear the truth. Patrice Lumumba's story is just one of many chapters the world tried to erase. If you want more dark, untold stories of history, power, and mystery, subscribe to Unexplained. Like this video, share it, and stay with us as we uncover the truths they never wanted you to know.
Sipe